The only restriction that the House or the Senate has in terms of imposing a remedy is if there is an expulsion. That is something that's in the text of our state constitution. Expulsion may only occur upon 2/3 vote. So a supermajority vote is required to expel a member. Let me say something else in terms of this remedial action. Some of our legislators have been concerned about that and feel that they have some proprietary right to the office they hold, and therefore they're deserving of some kind of protection. We are sensitive to the process and their service as legislators. We think we've drafted this bill in a balanced and a careful way to give full recognition to that concern. But I think we would respectfully disagree that legislators have some kind of proprietary right to their office. It's not their office. It's our office. We elect them to serve us. And if there's any consideration due, it's not to them so much, although we respect them highly as our leaders and as our elected representatives. There's no question about that. But the one reason, and a primary reason why we've been so careful to be even-handed to legislators is because we respect their constituents. That's us. We care about the choice people make in sending Representative so-and-so to the House or the Senate. That is an important choice that those people have made, and it should not be set aside lightly by anybody. And because of that respect and concern for the constituents who have elected that representative, we want this to be a fair process, and remedies when offenses are found carefully tailored to fit that situation. I hope that answers your question.
It's not always going to be expulsion. They have to give the money back.
Well, I think I'm reading the constitutional text. I'm drawing an inference from the constitutional text when it requires a supermajority for expulsion, but for nothing else. That tells me that our drafters of our state constitution considered expulsion to be an extraordinary remedy, to be sparingly used and only in the most extreme and exigent circumstances. So, but otherwise, it's just a majority vote. I want to underscore again that our process requires the Senate or the House, when they deliberate on the independent commission's findings, conclusions, and recommendations, to do that openly, publicly, and to vote on the record, yea or nay. So all of us as people can see how the legislature itself, a jury of the accused legislator's peers, if you will, the ultimate jury, gives due deliberation and shows its concern for this process. One consequence of this is, I think, respect will grow for our legislature. It's one of our three branches of government. Institutionally, we honor it and we respect it. I can speak for every person on our executive committee. We have the utmost regard and respect for our legislature as an institution. We want to keep it uncorrupted and pure and making laws in a disinterested way, in the public interest, that are good for all of us. And I think this process will help all of us to be involved and enhance that respect. Yes, please.
I just wanted to say, because we don't actually specify remedies in the initiative, except for the inference that an expulsion is the most extreme, the Commission will have choices. And it's not in the initiative, but it could be a reprimand. It could be a recommendation that someone be removed from a committee membership or from leadership of a committee. I mean, it's not specified. So whatever seems appropriate to the nature of the misconduct is available to the Commission.
Thank you.
Before we have, come on.
Kurt Benjamin, Richfield, Sevier County teacher. I just had a question on what do you envision the process to look like for, it says here, to each member demonstrate integrity, be educated and experience bodily and ethical matters, and then that they're impartial regarding their partisan affiliation. Will they write a letter demonstrating that, or will it just be based on our, their reputation, our view of them, or how would that be selected, I guess? Those three, a little more, I guess, nebulous qualities.
Can't answer that very well. He's pulled up a copy of our initiative, which all of you can read. It's on our website, which is Utahns, UtahEthics.org. And the criteria or the standards to qualify as a member of the commission are set forth in the bill. There are two types of standards. One are the very specific type. You can't have been a lobbyist for 5 years. You can't have been a legislator for 5 years. You can't have been a public office holder for 5 years. You can't have been a party leader for 5 years, and so forth. There are a couple of these standards which are a little broader and vaguer, and I would say more aspirational in tone. And he read them to you. Reputation in the community for service and leadership and integrity and the like. When you're drafting a statute, you have to walk a line between making it so specific that you tie people's hands and then giving broad guidance on the other hand, and trust those who are administering the statute, in this case our leaders in the House and the Senate, to pick up the tone and the care and the aspirational nature of the more general standards. And we are trusting the process, and we are trusting our leaders to do their best in applying those more general criteria. We're not trusting entirely, however, because the bill, as you'll see in the miscellaneous section, regulates what is an open meeting in terms of this process. As many of you know, we have in Title 52 of the Utah Code an Open Meetings Act, which has a very uncertain and uneven application to legislative affairs. We have taken care in our bill to make sure that there's no ambiguity or mistake about how that open process is to be applied to various phases of what happens under our bill. So we have a provision there that says that when leadership sits down and deliberates on the names to go into this pool, that is open. It's open, and they can't close it. So we will all be watching them as they wrestle with our criteria, even the more general type, and see what kind of things they say about how they're selecting names. And they'll know that we're watching them. And I suspect, since they're public figures and care about what the public thinks, that they'll be honest in applying our criteria. That's how far we're trusting the process.
Thank you. Mr. White, did you have another question?
First, a comment. I just want to say that I think the legislators should be held to an ethical standard. I agree with that. And I'm unequivocally opposed to the bullying and intimidation that sometimes takes place within the legislature itself. The question is, currently, the only way that a complaint can be brought is by a legislator. 3 legislators. Does the legislative budget pay for the cost of that?